a listener, whether it's on a podcast or actually to show up at the event, to one of our live events and have that feeling. I would really love that. One of my favorite memories with Julian is we would just have these long conversations where we would either walk or we would go somewhere in either the new Keller Center or the old Harris building. And we would just kind of game out what we wanted UC3P to look like. So we would talk like, oh, well, what if we had like a manager for managing the creative production instead of the publisher doing everything? We kind of thought like, oh, well, what if we have a live events director? What if we have a music director? What if we have like assistant production managers and stuff like that? Actually, the thing I'll say about the assistant production managers is that idea came from Anita Joshi, who is just also another fantastic podcaster. And so it was just really fun to be able to talk with Julian about what we would do. Like, what would we do if we could do it? What if we could get enough people to work on these podcasts? Like, how could we get podcasts like Chicagoland or Kind of Sort of Brown to work and to be successful and sustainable and get people to listen and to really make a difference? And so those conversations, in addition to when we were not just doing live events, I mean, Julian was helping me build the studio table, for God's sake. Like, that project now has affected easily over, 75 or 100 students this quarter, because we put that table together. Putting that room together took not just 9 months, but years of planning. And finally, we were able to put that together. And I was just texting Julian a couple months ago a screenshot of the studio schedule. And it was like 1 to 2 interviews were recorded in that studio every single day that week. And, we had like 7 to 12 different scheduled things that week, including, I think, a couple things on the weekend, which was just amazing. And to see that space being used and to see people bringing this creative medium into their lives was just profoundly transformational.
I loved hearing that story because that's just a story of such phenomenal growth. But surely you couldn't have gotten here. I mean, we heard about the times when things went wrong and things went south during live events, but can you tell us a memory of an episode or an interview where, just everything went wrong? And feel free to tell us who it was that you were interviewing as well. But when just literally anything that could go wrong went wrong. Or did that not happen?
Oh, I don't want to remember this. We had an interview with a guest. His name was Salam Al-Mariyati. And phenomenal guest. Just really someone who's like going out there, making a difference. He was the head of a group that was supporting Muslim Americans. And what happened in this interview was it was all of our old equipment. So we had the Yamaha MG 10XU. For anyone who's a gearhead, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Pretty starter equipment. We had everything, the XLR cables and the the tabletop microphone stands, and we were using Shure SM57 microphones, and it was all set up. They had a previous kind of round table, and I was setting up in another room adjacent on the second floor of the old Harris building. And I was setting everything up, and we were all scrambling, and I think we even maybe had 2 interviews that day, and someone had put the equipment away strangely in the locker and all this stuff. And the short of it is I forgot like an adapter for the headphones, and I wasn't able to listen to the interview to actually do it. So the guest came into the room, was with the interviewer, and then I was like, oh, well, I need to go find this adapter. Made the guest wait 15 or 20 minutes. When I went downstairs, was looking through all the cabinets, was looking through things, couldn't find anything, whatever it was. And then I came up and I was about to say sorry to the guest. And then I looked right next to me, and I had put the adapter about 2 feet away from me.
Yes, that's the universe.
I had put this adapter about 2 feet away from me, from where my mixer was, and it had been there the whole time, and I had to apologize, and they were all fine about it. And we ended up doing the interview, and it was great. It was recorded excellently, but making people wait and not being prepared frightens me, and it stresses me out. And even thinking about such things makes me kind of like sweaty and angsty. And Yeah, so how many times have we tried to make checklists for engineering and stuff like that? And I just have to tell you, you have to fail at it. You really do. And not fail at it in the sense of fail and then give up forever and this is not for me, which maybe live events has done that to me, but certainly fail and then try again and then no, you know what? I need to know every single thing. Like, I was giving Sowmya some equipment earlier today, and I unpacked all of it, made sure every single thing was there, and I put it in the bag. And it's because I've had experiences like that where I know you don't have one adapter and you're done, son. You know? So.
I mean, I forgot my keys this morning on my on my bike ride, so I totally understand the need of checklists. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you after this message.
Hey, thanks for listening to UC3P, the main page. We know you're enjoying this episode, and we really want to get you back to it as soon as possible. The problem is, if you're listening to this, there's a really good chance you haven't subscribed to the show yet. Don't worry, that's super easy to fix. Just go on your phone, pick your favorite podcast app, and type in UC3P or the main page. It's easy to subscribe, and we know you don't want to miss any more episodes. Again, type in UC3P or the main page and subscribe. Now go tell a friend.
Welcome back. You're listening to the U Chicago Public Policy Podcasts, and we're here with David Raban. So we have another question for you from Peter.
David, in the early days of public policy podcasts, you always had 100 ideas per day of episodes or shows or platforms or people you could speak with. Is there anything that you didn't get to do that you wish you had?
Yo, Peter. I just want to say to everyone, Peter is one of the most talented music producers. We would go to Peter's apartment, and this was before he had the beautiful baby Clara. And his wife, Jeanette, is just one of the best people I know. And I just want to, I know that this is completely off topic, but we would, in the early days of Harris, almost everybody knew each other. And we would get to know the, I guess, partners of the people at Harris, and we would go to all these events like China night or, you know, Japan night or whatever night, Columbia night especially, I remember, was always very fun. And Jeanette was always just the nicest person. And I just, you know, Jeanette, if you're listening to this, I miss seeing you guys, and I hope you're doing fantastic with the new child. I wish we got to interview President Obama. I think that would have been amazing. There was a moment when Michelle Obama's book came out that I thought maybe we could do it for Kind of Sort of Brown, but we got pushed off hard on that. But I really did believe that, you know what, if we had made a big enough impact and if we had got enough listeners and people were taking us seriously enough and all that stuff, I really believe we could have gotten him. And we did reach out at some point and it didn't quite work out. And I bugged Sowmya about this because she's an Obama scholar and just phenomenal. But yeah, that didn't quite work out. And that's okay, because maybe one day a UC3P podcaster will interview President Obama, and I think that would really make me feel like we made it in a way. Not that we didn't make it now, but that there's always a higher level to reach. You know what I mean? Like if we had gotten a chance to interview like Ban Ki-moon, former Secretary General of the United Nations, you know, if we got a chance to talk to someone on that level who's currently in office, for example, even, that would just, we would make some news. I really believe it. And that would be cool. That would be really cool.
I guess I'll listen to another question here.
David, as you come up on graduation, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of choices for your future career. And if you had to choose between becoming a lawyer or DJing at Harris After Hours for the rest of your life, which one would you pick, and why would it be DJing?
Is that also Peter?
Yes,
that's also Peter.
That's a good hot take. I like it.
If it was podcasting for the rest of my life or DJing for the rest of my life, DJing. 100%. 100%. In fact, after this is all over, I'm going to be hanging up podcasting for a while. And I don't know when I'm going to come back to it. It's been a really fun 4 years doing this with UC3P, a year doing it with NPR, 6 months doing it in my parents' garage, doing a little stint on public radio for music on KCSB, 91.9 in Santa Barbara. But music is my life. It's my passion. I love music. If I wasn't going to be an attorney, I'd probably be a composer, and I would try and write new music. And at some point in my life, I'd really love to do that. And even during this time of COVID, I wrote a couple of songs, and I just love them. And when I've gotten a chance to listen back on things that I've written, it really makes me feel like I've done something that I could look back on and feel really proud of. And that will never quite go away. And it's interesting because you could say the same thing about podcasts. There's no reason you couldn't say the same thing about podcasts. And when I listen to the old podcasts we've done, even the ones on COVID that you would think 3 weeks no longer apply, I swear I'm thinking about them all the time and the lessons from those, the creation of them, but also the substantive things we said in those episodes that we asked, that were answered. Those things live on, and they have not gone away and become stale. And for all the people who are listening to this, I actually encourage you to go back and listen to a lot of things that we've done. Some things, of course, will be stale, but those things hold up. At the same time, I think I'm ready to move on. But I don't know if I'll ever be ready to move on from music. And that's why I think DJing will be one of the ways in which I will continue to tell stories. But I should also say, in terms of the law, I'll also continue to tell stories. It may just not be in a way that's as readily discernible. But I hope that the impact is equally profound.
Do you think there's a space to have a more discernible message through music, using, like just kind of getting the kind of nuances of law through to people through music?
I think there are very few producers or DJs who have law degrees.
I don't disagree.
There is one. So actually one of the most famous DJs and producers of all time, his name is Armin van Buuren. And actually he does trance music, which is a really, really kind of interesting type of music, very focused out of Europe. And he has a law degree. And he was DJing and making music while he was in law school. And then after law school decided basically not to practice and went full-time into the DJing world and has made seriously tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, extremely successful. I think I've seen him twice. Really, really great musician, does a podcast radio show called The State of Trance, and it's just amazing. So it can be done, but I don't think he's combined music and law together, which answers your question. And if I was going to make music, I would definitely want it to be political. I would definitely want it to be legal. I would definitely want it to be policy-oriented. Not always. The number one thing is about the story. But part of the story can be those aspects. And I think that that could be really beautiful. And maybe one day that will be my role or my unique ability to do that. Not at this time.
We spoke earlier about all the things that you've been able to do with UC3P and, all the plans you made and successfully executed on. Is there something that you wish you did differently? Or are you walking away with zero regrets?
I'm definitely not walking away with zero regrets. I can think of at least 4 things from every year that I wish I had done tremendously differently.
Name one.
This was pretty early on. This was in the second year. I wrote an email after someone had decided to publish something without telling me about it, which irked me. But my response was disproportionate. And I wrote, frankly, a very nasty email. And I just, sometimes you write something and you send it and you look back on it, you're like, what was I thinking? How could I not look at this from the perspective of someone else or of who's receiving this? Or how would I feel if someone told this to me, And I think that really set the tone for the rest of the relationship I had with those specific podcasters. And that was really unfortunate because those people are my friends. And we did, even after that, because it was very early on in that year, even after that, we did really profound things together. And those podcasters were some of the most successful podcasters we ever had that made really, really fantastic content. But it made me sad that I kind of poisoned, I guess in a part, the early aspects of the personal relationship. And I think that